hello there. It's time for Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi. 9M4 Finding an Entrance, music by John Williams, orchestrated by Herb Spencer. So this is another continuation of the very long, sort of 10.5 minute continuous cue, really, which is made up of lots of different ones. This is Finding an Entrance, and then it sort of obviously segues into the space portion of that as well. So it's sort of almost two in one. So I'm going to try and find Frank's thematic catalogue, just so we can kind of see where we are. I was just having a look at some of the leitmotifs here because of the Cascading Tpt Lines, which are going to be coming up a little bit later on today. So cue lists, where are we? Probably around here. So we're on the second page now, and it's this one here, Finding an Entrance, 9M4, 9M5. Yes, so I think it says 56 measures. That's about right, I think. I think there's a few more, actually. A few more of those. Possibly because there's some edits and things like that, as is usual in this particular film. And, of course, for the special edition, no doubt, as well. But there's quite a lot to talk about. So we're going to go reasonably slowly. I'm going to try and do that just to make things a little bit bigger, and then when I need to refer to Frank's thing, I will, his thematic catalogue. So we start in D flat minor, that friendly key. I think often people rewrite it as C sharp minor, but there we go. I've tried to keep faithful to it, apart from the B double flats there. Just sort of little neighbouring notes, with, little sort of tambourine, bass drum, that sort of thing. You'll notice that here in the oboes, it's an imitative figure 2 octaves higher, and it's slightly different, with the delicate orchestration here, with little pizzicato violins, which add a little bit of bite and attack to the transience of the short figure. Let's try and spell transience, I think that's right. With the woodwind figures, followed by mixed timbres here, where the wind actually cut out, because of course it would honk if it goes down to a B as well, and probably no need to kind of do that. And then we've got flutes and clarinets, which take over a different timbre from the oboe. On this bit, again, the harp sort of fulfills the same role as what they were doing here, but now the strings are doing tremolo, and then there's an introduction of this figure here, like that. Unusual for the basses to go so high. They're going sort of 3 ledger lines over the, above the stave at that point. But it seems to work pretty well. I mean, the cellos are there, but there's nobody on the... I don't know whether they put a desk of cellos onto the line. They might have done. That's probably what Conrad would have done, I would have thought. Anyway, so here we got imitation an octave below this figure here. So we got it here in the bassoons and clarinets. So again, a slightly different timbre, but with the clarinets kind of being the linking passage between. And they just repeat there with the bassoons now sort of low. So there's a lot of that sort of symmetry in Return of the Jedi, and generally in Williams's music anyway, actually. So then we've got a sort of interesting bit here where we've got 2 of the trombones which are sort of helping horns 1 and 2 with this. It's quite a nasty leap as well, especially going from there to there, I would have thought. But also, the thing here is that we've got a feeling of a sort of D minor, but in actually sort of second inversion. And it becomes a sort of wrong note bass type chord, because we've got this sort of thing here, like that. So this is interesting because note the very careful spacing between the lowest note here, which is on the clarinet 2, and the highest note on the horn, sounding A there. So it's actually quite a powerful note at that point. But they don't share any pitches, and often, orchestration, he's very careful to kind of not combine notes or share space. And also the other thing is, what I've said is that the first two notes here are actually consonant anyway, even regardless of the key or the chord. They're consonant with that particular bit of the chord, and so the only dissonance is sort of removed as far away from that is possible to do, which is just played in a little flute 2, and that's it, nothing else helping it. And then when they get a little bit lower, the strings come in again with a little bit of a mixed timbre. And here, possibly to do with the fact that the B flat and A still sounding might be less effective unless it had some strings with it, which they do, and they're all divided, interestingly enough, in a sort of vertical order. So that's violin 1A, violin 1B, violin 2A, violin 2B. Often you might have that, and then the violin 2s do that, just for tuning purposes, but I guess that didn't happen at this point. So that's that bit. Then so often Williams punctuates the picture with offbeat or weak beat splosh or splashes, these sorts of things. Bum. And often it's a double bass pizz or something like that, or violoncello pizz as well. But here is just a crescendo A, which then reappears here, and then it leads into that bit. And I wonder whether that was part of an edit. I think actually it's not. But it could be. So we've then got basically a descending bass. And you'll notice that often, if he's really changing quite emphatically, he just puts a dominant of whatever that is in there. Just sort of classic, really, not even jazz at that point. And then we've got the little Ewok theme. There we go. And with little splashes as well, the Celeste to mix the timbres of the woodwind. We've also got the viola and transients to the horns as well. Like that. Which is quite low in the violas, actually, but it's very, very subtle as well at that point. Then more imitation here with orchestral differences. Here, oboes and clarinets instead of, the horns, bassoon, bass, clarinet. We still have the horns and the bassoon at that point, but we also have the oboes and the clarinets as well, which kind of mute the sound a little bit, kind of deaden it somewhat. And then we're into sort of expectant territory. This sort of C-sharp third inversion chord. And that leads naturally into this big timp roll with a semitonal shift into these cascading trumpets. Now, strangely, I put a whole bunch of information here, which seems to have deleted, which is really, really annoying. But in the thematic catalogue, I think it's probably easier just to go to it, actually. If we look at the incidental motifs and kind of go into here, we'll see Cascading Trumpet Lines, Rebellion, parallel triadic writing before and during Return of the Jedi, Battle of Endor, and numerous other inexact moments as an orchestrational topic. Compare with Empire Strikes Back, attacking a Star Destroyer. Yes, so all of those sort of those sorts of things do happen quite frequently as well. I remember that from doing Empire, that was the case. They're not all chromatic, and in fact here it changes. So here we've got a G minor chord, then a G flat major chord, then an F minor chord, and then E flat minor chord. So it's slightly different each time it happens. The other time it happens is just chromatic at that point. So we're in a sort of B flat pedal as whilst this sort of thing's going along. Notice that the xylophone just punctuates that little bit into the marcato sort of marked note at the top. And then we've got this Quartal bit, which I was saying is similar to, it's sort of set up there, isn't it? And then here, like that. I've also compared it with a cue in The Empire Strikes Back 3M2, Similar, although it's quite quintal at that point. That's the bit where the rebels are getting ready to fight the Imperials on the Hoth sequence. So it's just before that sort of Hoth thing where they see these lumbering things in the background. Very, very high trumpet indeed. That's a written D sharp, so very, very high. Yes, but I think Maurice Murphy handled it pretty well. Very well. Here, I also put things here. Quite a challenge orchestrationally is the theme is quite middling, isn't it? Sort of around middle C area. But the violins viola actually support the harmony with all of them. So even though it's written as a C flat, we've actually got a B major chord at that point. And it's just punctuating ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, all of these sort of important sort of, let's call them active notes there. So it's a good way of highlighting that. I think what I'll do is just do that and then do that, and then that's done. And then we can just sort of put that there. The trem fizz adds energy in different register in the absence of the quartal figure. In other words, that was the quartal figure there, but it's not happening here. At the point where there's other things going on, triplet figures coming along. So that, you know, that's why there's fizz probably. Then it's back to this aspect here. Very similar. At this point, it's just up. And it's just sort of going really D pedal down to G, basically. And then it's just horns and trumpets on their own. So this bit. So just this sort of little hiatus sort of section at that point. And notice that here, the complex orchestration, the melody is supported with the upper strings here. But everything else is sort of sustained harmony throughout, and that's all in the brass. The bass is just the bass, as is very, very often doubling bassoons, contra, bass trombone, tuba. Bass trombone takes that note, tube takes that note, bassoons take that note, contra takes that note, cellos do that, double bass does that. It's a sort of standard. Then here, just notice this. So yeah, it's from the throne room, isn't it? It's I never really realised that. And it's also using that sort of quartal moment of this. So it's really developed motivically at that point. Notice also the counterpoint with the percussion, in this case the side drum at this point. Military drum. So in the gaps you have movement. Then when there's something else you have less movement. In the gaps you have movement. Here we got a little cymbal hit. Ba-dee-dee-doo-doo-dum, digga-dum, digga-da, digga-digga-digga-da, da-la, 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 digga-da, da, digga-digga-digga-da, da-la, digga-digga-da, digga, like that. And it's quite intricate. It must be really fun to play, actually. And then we've got a little bit of orchestral contrast. Suddenly it's in the winds, absolutely classic. Move things around. And also that sort of horn thing is actually really prominent. Be-do-do-do-bum. That's the horns there. And then trumpet. As well, these sort of fragmented bits. And then we're into a sort of tertial shift. So there's all sorts of different shifts here. I've kind of highlighted the important notes. Dee-da-da-da-da-dum, dum bum, bum, dee-da-da-da-da-dum, bum 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 bum, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dum, bum bum. So it's all those sorts of, let's call them active notes, sort of things which are kind of leading on to something else. We've got a little dim 7 out. Little dim 7 outline at that point. And then we're into C. Da-da-dum. Dum, da-da, bum, da-da. So interesting at that point. Then we're into a tertial shift in E with the trombones, just adding a little bit of pedal noise at that point. And then another shift. into C, where the horns come in. So we're in this sort of B flat. And then we're in a sort of slash chord at that point. So B flat above E. With all of these block chords as well in the brass. And then we're into E, but above D, which is interesting from this point. So just to remind you, like that. It's a divergent progression in the sense that the bass is going down and everything else is going up. Like that. So it's sort of, you know, Starry Night almost, but not quite. And then you get this sort of amazing sort of cascade of things, Glock piano and all the wind there. We've got really high trumpets again. Bom, 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 bom. You know, this sort of amazing, almost sort of like, almost the Uranus motif. But not quite. By the way, that is this sort of thing, the most literal, so it's called pseudo-Uranus motif. Like that. So it's sort of, kind of getting on for that. But not quite. Whoops, I was in edit mode. And there we go. And it segues completely into the next cue, 9M6, 10M1. Let's have a quick look at what that actually is. If I can find it, that is. Where have I gone? Went past it, that's why. So yeah, 9M6. So we're then into heroic Ewok. No, what's he doing? Oh no. And then it's like complete action pretty much from then on. We've got Emperor confronts Luke and all of that amazing sort of you know, dual sort of storyline with the, you know, the Emperor, Luke and Darth Vader, and of course everything else. By the way, when it says Newman, that refers to Thomas Newman. I think that was one of his first ever orchestration jobs, which he did as well. So yes, that's it for now. The reason it takes quite a long time to do is because I'm also going from the original orchestrator score, and sometimes it's actually really hard to read, and I'm sort of checking everything as I go along. So there's a lot of sort of proofing of this, and you can see the amount of sort of detail that goes into it. So and the other thing is I've just got lots of other stuff to do as well, lots of other work on. Anyway, we shall be striving ahead as ever with Heroic Ewok. And then after that, the Emperor confronts Luke. I'm really looking forward to that. And then provokes Luke, more duel, the battle rage, you know, all of this sort of thing, the Emperor's death, Vader's death, all of that. And then the John Neufeld sort of orchestrated new finale. Boom, 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 blah, 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 da, dum, that one. So that's going to be really, really good fun as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope you are as well. And then we will have spent the better part of the year going through all of this. They're going to have a break from Star Wars. I might do some Superman cues, actually, because I think there have been quite a few people who've been quite interested in that. And at the time of recording, the new Superman film's out as well. So that could be quite fun. So that's all for now, folks. Look forward to seeing you again very soon, and bye for now.